This video will be about filter function. Just to be clear, it's not about filter functionality. So filter functionality is when you have your data and you go under data, create a filter, right? Then you have this little drop downs on top and you can just pick one of the options and it gives you like the filtered data. Function filter, and filter function is basically largely doing exactly the same thing that I just tried to show you, but it's in a function, it's not with the general user interface. So to be able to utilize filter function, you would have to just learn about arrays. So I'm going to go over a few examples here. So let me start with arrays. So what is an array? Array is a set of results that's not a single cell, but an entire range of values. If I was trying to do a logical test, I would say, is this equal to truck driver? And if I hit enter, this will give me false because, well, this is not truck driver. Now, if you drag this formula down, at some point it's going to give you true because it is truck driver. So now how do I do the same thing with an array? So instead of just checking if this single cell is equal to truck driver, what I'm going to do, I'm going to highlight this entire range from B2 through B108, as you can see. And then I'm going to say, is that equal to, again, truck driver? Now, if I hit enter, see, it gives me false because we have to explain Google Sheets that what we're trying to do is an array calculation. So what I have to do, I have to take this entire formula that I built and put it inside of a function called array formula. And if I do that, it will understand that I'm expecting an array or a range as a result. So if I hit enter, see, it gives me this entire range. It's checking every single one of these against my test if it equals to truck driver, and it keeps saying false until, well, as you can see, it's a truck driver, so it gives you true. And then it keeps going until the end. I'm going to actually just add a few rows in here just for future reference. And now let's go to the top. So this is an example of an array. So I'm creating an array, I'm getting an entire range of trues and falses. Now you could get those trues and falses in many different ways, right? So you could do logical test against text like I did a second ago. I could also do an array formula where I could check if the phone number starts with 201, and that means I have to check if the first three numbers here 201 are actually 201, right? So for that, I would have to use something like function left. And in function left, I will have to, again, take this entire column. I'm going to click on the first one, Control Shift down to select it. And that's the range of my values. I'm going to do a comma and then the number of characters. I'm going to say, let's grab 3 characters from that. So for now, I'm going to close this, and then I'm going to close the array function as well and hit enter just to see what we get. So what you see here is I'm getting a similar result to just creating one formula on this single row and dragging it down, right? But I don't have to drag it down because I'm getting returned an entire range of values. Now here I can go inside of this array formula and check, is that equal to, what was I checking for? 201, I guess. And 201 left returns text. So 201 needs to be in quotes. I'm going to hit enter. And you can see how I'm getting true for every single one that's 201. And I'm getting false where it isn't. So now that we have at least some basic understanding of array formulas and what they actually do, let's see what filter function is really all about, right? Let me add a couple of more columns here. So now let's take a look here, right? So I have this formula, it's an array formula that gives me trues for every single one that's truck driver and falses for ones that are not. And I want to just take these results and filter them to just ones that say true. So you can do that. So for that, I'm going to just copy this formula, not the equal sign. That gives me that range of trues and falses. And I'm going to do this function equals filter. First argument in this function is the range that you want as a result. So let's say I want every single phone number where this is true. So basically it's a truck driver, right? Those cases. So for that, I'm going to click in this first cell. I'm going to do Control Shift down to highlight the range of phone numbers, comma. So now that I have the range of phone numbers highlighted, I'm going to provide it the condition. And condition needs to be an array of trues and falses. And whatever gives us true is going to stay. Whatever gives us false is going to be gone. So since we already had that, I'm just going to paste my array formula right there. And then I'm going to close parentheses and hit enter. And now what we should see the first one is true here. That's this number. Then we have the second phone number here. So as a result, we only get phone numbers where this is true. Now, obviously, this is not connected to the formula. We can just delete this because we actually entered the actual formula right here. Now, another thing about filter is that filter already expects you to have an array formula. So I don't really need to do this array formula syntax to get this done. I can just remove that and keep the actual array formula in there because it knows this needs to be an array formula. So I can hit enter and I'm going to get the same results, simplify our formula and make it a little cleaner. So you could obviously tie this to a cell instead of just typing truck driver in the formula. So I could just go here and type truck driver. And then in my formula, instead of saying this equals to truck driver in quotes, I will just say equals to this cell above. I hit enter, I should get the same result. Now, if I change that to, let's say, reporter, see, we get all the numbers for reporters. Now it's tied to this cell. So the second thing about this is that this range, the initial range, doesn't have to be a single column. So I did this single column of phone numbers, but I could have done, instead of using this one column, I can use multiple columns. So I could say, I just want this first 2 columns, for example, or maybe first 3 columns. I'm going to go here, Control Shift down and select the range and hit enter. And then it's going to return all those 3 columns filtered to just reporter. So again, if I go back and change this to truck driver, that should give us those. Obviously, I could also include the column in there to get their full address as well. That's not really full address, but anyways, whatever it's called, column D. And now if I check, see, I also have column D included in my results. So it doesn't have to be a single column return. It can be an entire range returned with multiple columns, and you can just filter that based on these true and false statements. Now, the only thing you have to understand is that the length of your true and false statements needs to match the length of your data. So if you give a data range that starts from the second row and ends in 108th row, then you should get the same size of true and false array to match that. So let's get back to just returning a single column. So let's do the other case. Let's say we're trying to retrieve every single one where the phone number starts with, let's say, 312, right? So we go here, and as an array here, we're going to create that function I created before. I'm going to say where left, and in left function, we'll have to provide this range. So I'm going to click on the first one, Control Shift down, select the range, comma 3. That will be the first 3 characters from that column. And I'm going to say that should be equal to, and in quotes, I will say 312. And if I hit enter, that should give me only numbers that start with 312. Now with filter function, you can do multiple conditions. Maybe I want everything where phone number starts with 312, but I also want to just get truck drivers. So in that case, you can do a second condition after the first one. So the first condition is this, true and false, and then you do comma, and then you have to provide another array that's going to give you true and false. And I'm going to do what I did before. I'm going to do this, Control Shift down, and I'm going to say that equals to, and if I scroll up, I'm gonna click on the cell that used to say truck driver. I'm gonna hit enter. So we should get now only truck drivers that start with 312 area code. So this is an AND statement. That means you have to have both returning true at the same time to actually get a result. So if I change this to, again, reporter, we should get only reporters that start with 312. Probably there are none, apparently. So let's try somebody else. Let's do a Coast Guard. And apparently we have only one. And this is how it's gonna work, right? So now we have two conditions. Now you can also do 3, 4 conditions. So you just do comma and keep chaining your arrays of trues and falses. Now, in addition to getting trues and falses, you can also get a range of zeros and ones. So if you can get an array that gives you 0, 1, or really 0 or any number, so what's going to happen, 0 is going to be considered false, and any other number is going to be considered true. Now, practically, you'll probably not use that very often, but technically that will work. So if you create an array of trues as any number and falses as a 0, you could use that array as well for this condition. So far we did this. When we did the phone number starts with, and then we did this equals to that. I'm going to add a column here. So let's say what we want to get as a return is not just truck drivers, but also reporters at the same time. So truck drivers and reporters, that's what we need. Now, if you do an AND statement, that's not going to work because you can't have the same row to be a truck driver and reporter at the same time. So we need to build some sort of OR statement so this works. So let's try to do this. So I'm going to do the function OR, and I'm going to say, I'm going to click on this, Control Shift down, and I'm going to say, is that equal to reporter, in quotes again, comma, and also I'm going to highlight the same column, and I'm going to say, is that equal to truck driver? And then close parentheses, hit enter. So let's put this inside of an array formula and see what we get. Close parentheses, hit enter, and see what I'm getting is just one cell. So if this is what you're getting, then this is not going to work for your filter function, because if it's not returning a whole range of trues and falses, this is not something that would work. So there are some functions that will work with arrays and some functions that will not work with arrays. So for example, OR function, as you can see, it doesn't really work with arrays. So we need to find a different way to somehow mark everything that's matching this true and everything that doesn't false. So one way we could do that using a match function. So I could say equals match. Then I'm going to use the search key to be the whole column. Now, I guess I'm going to start just the basic formula so it's not confusing. So I'm going to just click on this one and do a comma, and then it's going to ask me for the range where I'm searching for the staff manager. So I'm going to put it in an array. So I'm going to say there's the first one that's going to be reporter, and then I'm going to do a semicolon, and then I'm going to use truck driver as the second argument here. I'm going to close curly brackets. By the way, this is code, curly brackets closed here. So I'm giving this an array to search in. So it should be searching for staff manager in this. And finally, we need to do a comma and give the type of search. This is going to be an exact match, so 0. And I'm going to close parentheses. That's an exact match. Hit enter. And I'm getting an NA because, well, staff manager is not found in this array, reporter and truck driver. Now, if I drag this down a little bit, see, I'm getting reporter 1 here, and I'm getting truck driver 2 here, and everything else is NA. And what that 1 means, it was able to find that this reporter was the first in this array, and in here truck driver was the second in this array that I provide. Now what I can do, I can just go in here and put this entire thing inside of the function is number. So what does isNumber do? It just checks if something is a number or not. And by doing this, see, everything we have as a number, that's where it's either a reporter or it's a truck driver. Everything else, it's not one of those. So I'm going to hit enter, and I need to drag this down so you can see what happens here. So now you'll see that I'm getting true for reporter, and I'm getting true for truck driver and false for everybody else. So now we need to check, does this work as an array formula? So I'm going to clear this, just keep this. So you need to make sure there's nothing on the way of this array so it can populate. So what I need to do, instead of just saying B2, I need to just search this entire column of values. So I'm going to clear that B2. I'm going to start from B2, Control Shift down, that entire range. And now we need to take this and put it inside of the function array formula. Close parentheses in the end, hit enter. So see, I'm getting an array, and it's basically false for anything that's not reporter or a truck driver, and it's true for those two cases. So since this works, that means this should also work inside of a filter function. So if I take that array formula, copy it, hit escape, I can go here and do equals filter, and I can provide a range that I want to work with. Let's say the first 2 columns, and do Control Shift down here, and then I'm going to do comma, and then as a condition, I'm going to paste that entire array formula. I close parentheses again, hit enter, and I should only get truck drivers and reporters now in this particular case. And this is going to be easy to modify. So if I also wanted to get somebody who's interior decorator or something, or Coast Guard, all I have to do is just go inside of my array and add right there. Hopefully I didn't mistype anything. And now we should get, see, reporter, truck driver, and Coast Guard. Another interesting thing here is that I didn't really have to type this entire array in here. What I could have done, I could have just have a designated area. So let me just clear this, and I could just say, well, I want reporter, Coast Guard, and truck driver. And then in my formula, instead of doing this entire thing in curly braces, I can just go back here and select this range, and now I'll be searching for that in this range, and this should return the same thing. The only difference is easier to modify, right? So if I want to get something like a chef in here, so that's reporter, chef, truck driver, and that's our filtered range. And that's an example using match as an array formula to get this results. And again, this array formula function is not really necessary here because it expects this to be an array. So I could remove that, and this would be my final formula. So let me do a couple of other examples here. Let's delete this and this too. And let's do partial match cases. So to do partial match cases, you can use regular expression functions in Google Sheets to make this a lot easier. So for example, let's say I want to get every vehicle that is made in 2001 here, right? So I could do that with regex match. Now I could do the left function. I did it before, you saw that. But regex match is another function that will work with regular expression, and it will give you true and false as a result as a regular expression, which will allow you to do a lot more complicated things if you know regular expression. Now I'm not going to go in depth about regular expression in this video. I have a video covering this function too. You can go and watch that, but let's take a look. So if I take this vehicle, comma, and as a regular expression, I'm going to do a caret, which is starts with, and then I'm going to do 2001 and close parentheses, hit enter. So this will be starts with 2001. That's what that caret does. And 2001 is, well, 2001. And now if I drag this down, see, I'm getting true for ones that start with 2001. Now let's check if this works as an array formula. So we're going to delete that and do the whole range from here, Control Shift down, and then we're going to take that and put it inside of our array formula function. Close parentheses, hit enter, and we can see how we get falses for the ones that are not 2001 and then trues that are, which means now we can use this in our filter function. So I'm going to copy that, hit escape, go here, equals filter, and then I'll just use the same column. I'm going to do Control Shift down, comma, and then I'll paste my array formula, close parentheses, hit enter. I'm not going to go back and remove array formula out of this. Again, you probably understand at this point that you can do this, right? So there it is. It gives us every 2001 vehicle using regular expression as a match for this entire column. So this gives you a lot of different opportunities with regular expressions. Now, if you're not into regular expressions, a couple of things I'm going to mention. So if you do a caret and put your text or a number, that will basically search for anything that starts with. If you don't do the caret, let's say I just type Toyota, so no carets, so just Toyota, that will basically get me anything that includes Toyota in there. And also it's case sensitive. So you can see how Toyota is not a match here. But if I do uppercase T, you'll see that Toyota is true. It's a match here. This is Toyota. Now at some point we're going to get another, I don't know, Toyota, true. Now if you don't want to do case sensitive, you want this to be non-case sensitive, then what you can do, you can take this range and put it inside of a function lower to convert that entire range to lowercase. And then because this is lowercase, now we will search as a lowercase, and then it will take uppercase, convert it to lowercase, and then we'll match as a lowercase. Now this would be non-case sensitive way of using this regular expression. Now I can just copy that whole thing, go here and replace this array formula with my new array formula for Toyota, and this will be basically contains statement. So if you did something like this, that's similar to doing contains this text. And then if you wanted things that end with something in particular, then you can also do this $sign in the end, and $sign in the end means ends with. So similar to how caret in front means starts with. So if I do $sign here and then do something like 0, it ends with 0. So that should pick up this one and the second one, and then not this one, although it does have 0 here, but it doesn't end with a 0. So if we hit enter, see, true, true, then these are false, and that's what we get. So now again, as usual, you can just copy that formula, hit escape, go back here, and replace your array formula with this new array formula, hit enter, and now it gives us everything that ends with 0. So you can do a lot of complicated things with regex match if you understand regular expressions. Let's try to get every single address that's in Illinois. So for that, I'm going to do lowercase for this entire column, right? So now I select this column, that's my full address, and I'm gonna convert it to lowercase so I can later do my match in lowercase. And for this, I'm going to use this syntax. So you can see how we picked up this Illinois, then how we picked up this Illinois, and then I'm gonna explain you what I exactly did there in a second, right? So let's say this doesn't have a comma there. See, it still picks it up. And what if I did something like this? See, it doesn't pick it up. So if it's like this, or if it's with a space or even multiple spaces, or maybe there's no comma here, it's just a space. See, in all those cases, this will pick it up. And what this B with a slash stands for is a word boundary. Basically, we're saying that it has to be beginning and the end of the word. So we're expecting this Illinois to be a word in this, not a part of text. So basically, if we have something that's, well, see, this IL is in here, but let's say this is not in Illinois. See, although IL is in here, it's not a word. It's just a part of a different word. So we're not picking that up. I'm going to undo that. And now I can just take that formula like we did before, copy that, hit escape, go back, and then we can simply just paste that formula in here, and that should give us every vehicle from Illinois. Okay, so finally, let me give you a short example working with numbers here too, so you can see what you would do if you had numbers. Let me delete this and create a new column with just separated numbers and text. It's good enough. I'm gonna clear all this. So now we have some numbers here. Now let's say we want to pick every vehicle after the year 2013 or something like that. So again, this will be pretty simple. I'm gonna do equals filter. And then we'll do the range. I'll just select, I guess, this and this, Control Shift down, comma, and then I need to do a condition. So in this column, C, Control Shift down, I'm going to check, is that greater than a number? So 2013, I said, I don't remember. It doesn't matter. So here we go. So we should pick up everything that's above 2013. We can do greater or equal to. If we want to include 2013, apparently there are none. Let's do 2014 so we can see the difference. So if I do 2014, see, it includes 2014s in here. But if I do just greater than 2014, it's just going to be, well, greater than 2014. If you want everything that's exactly 2014, you would do equals 2014. And then if you wanted to do not equals, you would just do this. That's your not equals. And I'm going to undo this. So now let's just change this to just return that column of years. So from here, Control Shift down. So now I'm just going to be filtering that to just 2014s or anything that's greater than or equal to 2014. That gives me this. So if you wanted cars between 2014 and 2016, you would just do a comma here and do another condition. You would just say, well, between all of this, I want everything that's less than or equal to 2016. Now that will be cars between 2014 and 2016. And then you can take this filter function. It returns an array or a range. You could actually use it inside of different functions. So if you wanted to sum these numbers up, you can just put it inside of a sum function, that entire filter function, and it would just sum them up, which really doesn't make any sense in this particular case, obviously, but we could count them. So I could do something like counter, and that will give me total number of matches. So we have 4 vehicles that are within this range of 2014 and 2016. And then if we wanted just to know how many staff managers we have, we could just take this entire condition that is no longer valid, and I'm also going to get rid of this. So we're going to have to rebuild this entire filter function. Actually, let me go from the beginning. I would do equals filter, right? I would do this range right here. I'm going to do a comma, and then I will select that same range, Control Shift down, and say, well, let's just click on here, right? I'm going to just type reported or truck driver there on top. I'm going to close parentheses, hit enter. Obviously, we get nothing because, well, there's nothing in here. So now it's truck driver. So clicked on the wrong cell there. This should be E1. Good. We got those. Now we can simply just take that and use counter function on this, which you could do with COUNTIF or COUNTIFs, obviously, as well, right? But you can do more complicated regular expressions, things like that for a match here. So overall, that's pretty much what you need to know about filter function. It's about learning about arrays. So you might want to go more in depth into arrays if you want to do more complicated things using filter function. But other than that, this should do it. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.